Alright, here we go. We're looking at the pre-algebra review for the percents test. We're going to be doing the word problems here, so this will be number 12 through 20 on your review packet. Number 12 here says 31,000 fans show up for a baseball game. This is 10% less people than the stadium can hold. How many people can the stadium hold? So this quickly, if we want to do this, it's 10% less. So 10% less people than the stadium can hold. This is not the 10%. This would be 90%, because we've got, the whole stadium would be 100%, and then we would take away the 10% to get our 90%. So 90% goes along with the 31,000. So quickly here, we're saying 90%, excuse me, let me type this out here. We're saying 31,000 is 90% of what? That's what we're looking for. We're looking for the total, so we could phrase the question that way. Alright, so setting up a proportion here, if you remember, it's always a percent of the total or the whole. So this is what we don't know. We don't know the whole or the total. So that's going to be x on the bottom, 90%, 90 over 100, and then our 31,000 is right there. And then quickly, if I want to bring up a calculator here, we're going to be doing, whoops, and that's a really big calculator. Let's make it a little bit smaller. There we go. So we're going to be doing 31,000 times 100, and then divide by 90, and that's what we get, 34,444.444 repeating, and we're going to round that, because we're talking about people, this is going to round to the nearest whole number. So we got to, let me write that down here. So, whoops, what was it again? 34, and the 4 just keeps on going. So 34,444.4 repeating, but rounding this to the nearest whole number because it's people. I look at the ones place, and next door is a 4. So this would say 34,444, and actually I suppose I could write that up here. 34,444. Okay. So if that made sense to you, you feel like you got it, you can move on to the next question. But if you want to see this, we'll do it with an eye graph, and maybe that'll convince you that we've got it set up right here. So doing this with an eye graph, let's see if I can make that, and then, well, let's see here. I'll get my eye graph. Okay, so there's my eye graph. And we'll fill in details, but I've got 100% at the top on the right, 0% on the bottom on the right, 0 people on the bottom on the left, and I don't know the total people. That's what I'm looking for there. So that 31,000, maybe I can draw like right up here, and I can say, all right, your 31,000, that's what we have right now. But the 10% less would be right here. 10% less right there. So that the 10% would help me figure out this number if I had enough information, but it doesn't help me figure out this number. In fact, I don't have enough information. So, but what I can figure out here, what I did right away is when I did this, the 100 minus 10, it would be 90% that we have right now. 90% that are there. And there are 31,000 people that are there. So that's what I'm using here. So that's how I'm setting up that proportion. Okay, so hopefully that visual helps you a little bit. We could now, if we want, we could figure out how many people short are we, how many more people could we hold, what would go up here, but the question doesn't ask about that. So we don't need to figure that out. But there's number 12. Alright, number 13 here. A new laptop costs $1,100. Kodza will pay 25% down and $30 a month. How much will he pay in 18 months? So this is kind of a two-part question a little bit. I'm going to start off with the 25% down. And so that means 25% of the total cost. You can make a down payment. You don't have to pay for the whole thing. So we're going to start here with basically figuring out 25% of 1,100. Or we could phrase the question, what is, let's capitalize, what is 25% of 1,100? So that's what I'm going to start with. Basically, what's the down payment? going to be here. So again, as we've seen, it's always the percent of the whole or the total. So that is my whole or my total. So I'm going to put X on the bottom. We're doing 25%, 25 over 100. And then the let's see here. Oh, no, I'm sorry. We know the whole. My bad. That's 1,100. There we go. So we know the whole is 1,100. We don't know the part. That's what we're figuring out there. Okay, so there's my proportion. So again, calculator's going to come to the rescue. Clear that out. So we're going to do 1,100 times 25 and then divide by 100. Okay, so the down payment is $275. And let's type that in here. So down payment is $275. Okay, but now we also have monthly payments. We've got this plan here. We're gonna do $30 a month. So for 18 months, some of you that took like whole numbers or fractions or decimals with me might remember the way I do this is I'm going to do 18 months, 18 months, and then I'm going to multiply, and I'm going to use parentheses here for multiplication, but I'm going to do $30 a month. So with the months right here, I want to put that 1 month, $30 for 1 month, on the bottom, and then the $30 would go on top. This is how I multiply when I do like rates and stuff. $30 a month is a rate. And then the way we multiply this is we're going to do the first number times the top number and divide by the bottom number, and we really don't have to divide by 1. So we're really just doing 18 times 30, and some of you might have known that shortcut. I believe that's going to be 540. Yep, there we go. You could divide by 1, but it's not going to change anything. Okay, so $540 is our monthly payments. That's our total for the monthly payments. So let's type that in here. Total monthly payments. Typing. $540. Okay. Now we got to put it all together because we're talking about the total that he's paying in 18 months. That is your down payment with your monthly payment. So last step, all we got to do here to finish up is to do the addition with these two. Let's get the pencil here. The $275 for the monthly payment plus the $540 for your monthly payments. And again, we'll go to the calculator. And what's 275 plus 540? We get $815. So that would be, I'll put that up here, $815. That's the total that we're going to pay in 18 months. Down payment plus monthly payments. Here we go, number 14. It says, Jaime's sales for the month totaled $8,400. He gets paid a commission of 7%. Of the money he's paid, 5% is deducted for income tax and 8% is deducted for Social Security. How much money does Jaime take home? And again, this is a tricky one. We got a lot of numbers going on here. I'm going to start with first his commission. Commission of 7%, and it's 7% of his sales. So 7% of 8,400. So let's type this out here. So we're going to start with commission. We're doing 7% of $8,400. If you know the shortcut, you could set your proportion up here. 8,400 is your total. I'll show you this in a little bit, but if you remember the shortcut, you can do 7 divided by 100, 7%, and then multiply that by 8,400. So that's what I'm going to do on the calculator here real quick. So we're doing 7 divided by 100. I know that's 0.07, but I'll show you. And then times 8,400. So $588 is our commission here. 588. Is that what the calculator said? Yep, 588. Okay. So that's what he gets. That's what he earned. Now I'm going to come to the taxes. And the thing to realize with these taxes, we've got 5% of the $588 and 8% of the $588. So if the question was asking us about how much for income tax, how much for Social Security, we might care about separating those. But because it's 5% and 8% of the same amount, we can just go, oh, well, that's just going to be 13%. So you're losing 13%, or total taken out for taxes is 13%. And again, before I do this, I can show you with the eye graph also. But how much money does Jaime take home? Well, that's what he gets to keep. This is what is taken away. 13% is taken away. That's not what we're looking for. We're looking for how much money does he keep? How much money does he take home? So that's where I might think to myself, all right, well, if he starts with 100% of it and you take away 13%, that means you're going to keep 87%. Or you take home 87%. So that's what I'm going to focus on. So now I'm going to think about, okay, what is 87%? 87% of that $588. And again, I could do a proportion, and I'll show that to you. But real quick, I can just do, you know, that 87 divided by 100, and then multiply by 588. And that's going to be my shortcut here. Whoops. So let's punch that into the calculator. And again, 87 divided by 100, I know is 0.87. But that's what we get here. So coming back here, $511.56, $511.56. That would be our answer. And we don't even need to round that. Hooray. So that's his take home, $511.56. Okay, so if you're good there, you can skip to the next one if you want to. If you want a little more explanation to it, I'll try and break some of this down a little bit. So going over here on the right, we'll do this part as a proportion. So just to show you if you like that proportion. So we would have the percent of the whole or the total. This would be the whole or the total, 8,400. We're looking for the part. We know the percent, we know the whole. We're looking for the part. So I would start with x over 8,400 equals 7 over 100. And when you cross multiply and divide there, you should come up with 588. Okay. This next part might be nice. Once you figure out the 588, you might like to use an eye graph. And again, I'll get that set up here. Okay, so we're here with my eye graph now. Again, to realize that the 5% and the 8%, it's of the same amount, so we can add that together to get 13%. You could do 5% of 588 and then 8% of 588 and do that separately, but it's a lot quicker to put them together here. So we're taking away 13%, so I'll put that up at the top here. 13% taken. And again, what that would mean that we get to keep 87%. And since the question is about what does he take home, what does he get to keep, this is what I want to figure out right here. So I can use that 87% if I want to. If you figured out this number over here, that's great, but then you would do 588 take away this number to get the answer to the question. For me, it's just quicker to use 87% to arrive at that. So either way you do it, if you wind up with $511.56, you're looking good. Even if you figured out this number, which would be, I believe, what about $76.44, something like that. But that's what it looks like with your proportions and your eye graphs. And just to finish that up, if we need to, if I'm going for this number right here, I'd have my proportion. I'll draw up here in the top right. I would have x over 588 being the total. Whoops, let's make an 8. 588, a little bit better, equals 87 over 100. And then cross multiplying and dividing should give you that $511.56. Number 15 is actually going to be a pretty quick one if you recognize some of the shortcuts here, or one shortcut in particular. Number 15 says, given that 1 mile is equal to 5,280 feet, 1,000 feet is what percent of a mile? Round to the nearest tenth if needed, 1 decimal place. So we're looking for a percentage. So right off the bat, if I want, I could start with x over 100. And make it 0. X over 100. And then put this equal to something. So I want a fraction here. We're doing 1,000 feet is what percent of a mile. So you might say, well, hey, a mile, that's going to be, it's a percent. Let me switch colors here. It's a percent of the total, so, or the whole. So you might say, well, hey, your mile is the whole thing. That's the total. So you might write down 1 mile down here. And you might say, well, hey, I'm going to have that 1,000 feet on top. But here's the problem. Right now we don't want to do it this way. First of all, I can't write very nicely, but we don't want to do it this way because we're mixing our units. We have feet and miles, and we don't want that. So let's back up. We want the same units. Right here, this first sentence allows us to say, well, hey, that 1 mile, instead of 1 mile, we're going to do 5,280 feet. So let's not do a mile, let's do 5,280 feet. All right, FT is the abbreviation for feet. And so that's the whole. So I can, instead of saying what percent of a mile, I can say what percent of 5,280 feet, because that's the same as a mile. It's kind of like saying if we said what percent of a dollar, when we said what percent of 4 quarters. 4 quarters and a dollar is the same thing. But now I can put my 1,000 feet on top, and those make your zeros look like zeros. All right, and now I can cross multiply and divide. And we'll do that. So we're going to do 100 times 1,000, and some of you might know a shortcut for that, but and then divide by 5,280. All right, so we get 18.939. It looks like that it's repeating 18.93, and it repeats. So that would be your exact answer if you want to give an exact answer. If you want to round it as instructed, round to the nearest tenth, we would have, approximately. The 9, let me draw it up here. The 9 with the 3 next door, the 9 with the 3 next door. The 3 says keep it a 9, so 18.9 would be your rounded answer. So either one of these, I'm not going to write it up in the blank. We'll just draw a little arrow. Either one of these, this is exact. 18.93 repeating is exact, and I would accept that. If you want to round it, 18.9 would be your rounded answer. All right, now number 16 looks like a short one. What is the total cost of a loan of $500 at 9.2% interest for 2 years? So this, we're talking interest, so hopefully you have the formula memorized for simple interest. Interest equals principal times rate times time. So we just have to plug numbers in here and then make sure we answer the question. So we're starting with right here, this is our principal, 500, that's what we start with. 9.2 is the rate, but remember we want to change it to a decimal, so divided by 100. And then 2 years is the time, and yes, that is in years. Just remember, be careful, because sometimes they'll be tricky and they'll say 2 months, and we go, oh, 2 months, we're not going to use 2, we're going to use 2 months out of 12 months, but here it is years. So all I have to do now is plug those numbers in. Interest equals the principal, which is 500, times the rate. You can either do 0.092, which is what I like to do, or if you want to remember, it's 9.2 over 100, and that's division, so that's 9.2 divided by 100. So that's how you can come up with that 0.092 if you forget or if you're not sure. But then, so that's principal times the rate. We still got to multiply by the time, which is 2. And then let's punch it into the calculator. 500 times 0.092 times 2. Alright, so we get 92. Interest equals 92. Now let's make sure we answer the question. What is the total cost? So we don't just want the interest, we want the interest plus the original amount. So total cost here, I'll type this one out. Total cost is going to be the principal plus the interest, and for us that is going to be the principal is 500 plus the $92 for interest. So that's going to give us $592 for our final answer there. And I'll put that up in the blank. So again, make sure you're answering the question. The question could have been how much interest. If the question was how much interest, then we go boom right there, $92. But the question was total cost. So read carefully, think critically, make sure you have answered the question being asked. Number 17. Brenda is playing basketball. She makes 12 free throws out of 15 attempts. What is her percentage of making free throws? This one is pretty straightforward. We've got a fraction, 12 free throws that she made out of 15 total, 15 attempts total, and we want to know what is her percentage. So that would be x over 100. Alright, so there's our, and again, Kevin, make your zeros look like zeros. There we go. So there's our proportion, and we can then punch into the calculator. We're going to do 12 times 100, and then divide by 15. And there we go, we get 80%. And that's our answer. That one was nice and quick and easy once you recognize how quick that proportion is. Number 18. While shopping, you buy shoes for $50, pants for $30, and a shirt for $15. You get to use a coupon for 30% off your entire purchase. How much will you pay for your items? Now, you could break this one down a couple of different ways. You could do 30% off of the $50, 30% off of the $30, and 30% off of the $15. Figure out how much you're going to spend, and then add it all together. Or what I think would be a lot easier is your total before the coupon, or before the coupon, is what you would do is you would add up all your purchases. So you'd say $50 plus the $30 plus the $15. If I can do that mental math really quickly in my head, I believe you get 95. Okay, so that's the total. You know, when we go to the cash register, and you know, they're going to say, oh, it's $95, and we go, oh, whoa, I got a coupon though. So now I'm just going to apply that coupon. And again, I'm going to do this kind of quick, and then I'll go back and I'll do an eye graph for those of you that like the eye graph. But when we do 30% off, whoops, we need a pencil. 30% off, and the question is, how much will you pay? These do not match. This is what you save, and they're asking us for what we pay. So, well, that's a biggie. They do not match. The 30% does not match the question. I could find 30% of $95, but it's not going to be my answer. That's going to be the amount that I save. And you could do that, but again, for me, it's quicker to say if I save 30%, then that means take the original 100% and subtract your 30%, means that you're going to pay 70%. And again, this is where I'll show you with the eye graph. This is what we're paying. You're saving 30%, you're paying 70%. So how much will you pay? Well, I'm going to pay 70%, but now I want a dollar amount. So now I'll set up that proportion. So it's 70% of 95 that we're paying. So this would be the whole or the total. However you do it, 95 would be the whole. So I'm going to pay, I don't know how many dollars, but I'll figure it out here. Out of 95 was the original, or the whole thing, and I'm paying 70%, 70 over 100. So there's the proportion I would set up to solve this, and then cross multiplying and dividing. 95 times 70, and we're going to divide that by 100. So 66.5. Remember, this is money, American dollars, so we should have 2 decimal places. Even though the calculator only gave me 0.5, I know it's 50 cents, so $66.50. And again, if you get that, if you feel comfortable with it, you can move on to the next problem. If you want further explanation, I'll do the eye graph to give you more of a visual. Okay, so here's the setup for my eye graph. And again, I've already added up to get that $95. I've added up all my purchases, but we're gonna take off 30%. So we got 30% that we're gonna save here. 30% that we're saving, which means that we are paying the 70%. And since the question is about what's the dollar amount that we pay, that's what I'm looking for. So for me, it's easier just to use the 70%. Again, you could figure out what's over here. You could figure out the dollar amount that you're saving, and then subtract that. What would it be here? It would be a little bit less than $30, $28.50, I think. But then you would subtract that. You would do 95, take away this to get the amount of money that we pay. For me, it's just quicker to use that 70%. Either way you do it, if you can show me the work and get $66.50 as the answer, that's all I really care about. Okay. Number 19 says, Hamdi buys a house and makes a down payment of 13% of the total price. If her down payment was $18,000, what is the total price of the house? Okay, so this is going to be pretty much a straightforward one here. Percentage and part and whole. We even have the word total right there. So 13% of the total. So I'm going to start with my percentage here. 13%, 13 over 100. Okay. Now, she makes the down payment. The down payment was $18,000. That goes with the 13%. So that's not the total. The question is, what is the total? That's what we're looking for. What is the total price of the house? This is the part. We're looking for the whole, or we're looking for the total. So 18,000 goes up top, and we don't know what's on the bottom. That's what we're going to figure out here. But once I've got that proportion set up, 18,000 times 100 and divide by 13. Alright, so we get a big long decimal here. 138,461. 138,461. What was it? 538? Yep, 0.538. 0.538. And the reason I'm not, it keeps going. But again, remember, this is money. We're talking money here, so put a comma in there. And then I'm going to round this to 2 decimal places. And remember, that's something I want you to know for the test. So a 3 with an 8 next door, the 8 says make that a 4. So final answer here, dollars, we have $138,000, $138,461 and about 54 cents. That's our final answer there. And that makes sense because that's more than, we're only paying 13%, 18%, or 18,000, excuse me, 18,000 was the down payment, so we should have a number that's bigger. It seems like a reasonable answer. Okay, here we go. Last question on the review. Last word problem. Number 20 says, Kevin used some coupons while shopping for groceries. The cashier tells him that he saved $5.32, which is 12% of the total before savings. What was the total price before savings? And this is again going to be just a basic straightforward parts whole or part and total one. When I look here, I see 12% of the total. So again, we don't know the total. What was the total? That's what we're looking for. So I can start with my 12%, 12 over 100 equals, I don't know the total. Let's see here, it was $5.32 was the savings. That matches up with the 12%. Okay, we're not being sneaky, we're not being tricky here. You could say, well, he saved 12%, means he only paid 88%. Yeah, but we have saved $5.32, and that goes along with the 12%. $5.32, which is 12%. So those match right there. We're all good. So that's all we have to do. Set up that proportion. Now cross multiply and divide. 5.32 times 100. You might be able to do that without a calculator. It's just 532, and then divide by 12. All right, 44.3 repeating. Let's switch colors here. 44.3 repeating, but remember this is money, American dollars, so we want 2 decimal places. So that means the 3 in the hundredths place, we need to look next door in the thousands place, and the 3 next door tells us to keep this a 3. So final answer here, $44.33. And that's it, we're done.